Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Chess with Konstantin. Today, we are going to be starting a parallel new series that is meant to go hand in hand with our analysis of the great legendary masters, and in particular Nashmedinov games. This course is going to be called Fundamentals of Attacking Play. It is completely free, and with this course I hope to demystify some of the concepts about how do you go about actually attacking and trying to checkmate or checkmating your opponent. Certainly many beginners don't know what to do when they first start out. They understand maybe concepts of controlling the center or developing pieces, but just like in basketball, you could have a great passing game, you could be really phenomenal in controlling the ball, but ultimately you have to shoot your shot and it has to actually score. So in this course we are going to talk about how do you go about actually scoring and getting a point. I'm going to do that by looking at some selected games that I've prepared beforehand. They are not going to be anything you've seen before, I don't believe. And almost all of them are old Soviet games from Soviet Union period, ranging from anywhere from late 1920s all the way through the 60s or 70s. So let us begin. This first game is played in the opening of Caro-Kann defense. It was played in 1956, and it's with the white pieces we have Novatsky, and we have Mr. Sulik or Sulich as the black pieces. So the game began with pawn to e4, and this is pawn to c6. So this is the typical defense that is called Caro-Kann. Usually chess play is all about controlling the center, so that's either these four squares or the expanded center is the squares around. So I guess this is the extended center of the board, and the reason why it's important to control the center is because well, anytime you want to do anything at all, your pieces have to pass through this region, and whether you're trying to checkmate or win material, really you have to worry about who controls this region. And Caro-Kann, the point is not to contest this region immediately, but to play pawn to d5 in the next move. And the idea is that this d pawn will be supported. So for example, if pawn takes a pawn, e takes d5, then c can recapture and maintain control of the center. So the game here continued knight to c3, attacking this square and also supporting the e pawn. And then black continues with d5. This is a standard opening. Knight to f3. Now bishop to g4, immediately pinning this knight and preparing some kind of unpleasant situation for white. So a lot of white players will play h3 here, and this is fine. And in fact, this is what was played here. So with the move h3, white is causing black to answer a challenging question. Does he want to exchange the bishop for the knight, which I don't recommend for you early on in the game, or do you want to, what are you going to do with this bishop? So typically you would want to retreat it to maintain pressure, and then if white plays g4 chasing it, then some weaknesses are created on the king side. So after this, here black decided, rather than retreating the bishop, which is like the modern way to play, that he was going to go ahead and capture the knight. I can't really recommend this approach, but this is the approach that was taken. So of course queen takes. You don't want to take with the pawn, because that will screw up your pawn structure on the king side. And now we have the move e6, preventing this pawn wedge, which is a very stable structure. And the idea is that, alright, so imagine if black never played bishop to g4. Having this pawn structure would be a very stable defensive formation for black. But the problem would be that this light squared bishop would be trapped. And it's not always clear where to put that light squared bishop. And by taking this innovative approach of capturing white's knight, black decided that he's going to solve his opening problem of what to do with that light squared bishop. So now that that bishop is gone, black can play pawn to e6 and not have too many problems, not have to worry about where to develop that piece. The drawback, of course, is that taking that exchange so early in the game really dramatically limits the options that black can play. So for the remainder of the game now, light squares on the black side will potentially be weak, and that's fine as long as you have these pawns. But when the pawns start to be exchanged, then the white's light squared bishop is going to become quite strong. But let's continue. So black plays e6, white continues with d4, and now we have d takes e4. It's an interesting move, not one I would necessarily recommend. It's not quite a mistake, but you know, what's the point? What is the point of destabilizing your formation? I think it was much better to play a developing move like knight to f6, maybe knight to e7 even. But alright, we have d takes e4, and after this move, white of course responded with knight takes. You can also capture with the queen, but knight in the center is quite active. And you may ask yourselves, why shouldn't black use this opportunity to capture a free pawn? Well, this is exactly what the black player was thinking. Mr. Sulik decided, hey, it's a free pawn, I'm going to go ahead and take it. You have to be very careful, however, with taking such quote-unquote free material, especially moving the queen early on in the game, and now I will illustrate why that's the case. So white gave up the pawn, black took it. Now we have bishop to d3, simply developing pieces, and black decided that he is going to play knight to f6, standard developing move. Now if knight takes knight, then I'm not sure what he's thinking, because you would have to take with probably the queen. Then after queen captures and pawn captures, black's pawn structure is compromised on the king side. Maybe he's planning a queenside castle. So after knight to f6, white plays bishop to e3, attacking black's queen, and once again offering the b2 pawn. So not only are we down a pawn, but we are also offering to give him another pawn. And of course, black says, I don't believe that. I don't believe in mind over matter, I believe in matter over mind. So material over everything. and black goes ahead and takes this pawn, attacking white's rook. So you can just count the pieces now. Black has 7 pawns and white has 5. So black, conventional wisdom, right? Somebody who doesn't understand anything in chess but can count would say that here black is winning because black is up 2 pawns. But that's not quite how things work in real life. So after queen captured the second pawn, white simply castled here. And now knight takes e4. And we have bishop takes e4. It's logical to trade pieces when you are ahead in material. Now notice, look at the development of both sides. So white has castled, so his king is safe. White developed all the minor pieces, so both bishops are very active. Now look at black's side. Yes, black is up 2 pawns. However, notice that the only piece in the game currently for black is black's queen. All the minor pieces are still at home. Black's king is still in the center and has not castled. The rooks are disconnected. And actually, development advantage here, it's much better and much stronger than material advantage. So despite the fact that black is up 2 pawns, computer is giving white the advantage here at 0.59, almost 0.6 points. That's more than half a pawn ahead. And so it is white that has the advantage here, despite the fact that the material is to black's favor. Now this game continued, queen to f6. This is logical. Obviously, trading queens would be a terrible mistake. Computer says white would still be ahead after trading queens here, but not nearly to the degree he was before. And actually, if you are ahead in material, you should trade off pieces, because as a rule of thumb, the more you trade off, the easier the endgame will be. So why would white trade queens here when it would help black with his endgame? That would not be a good idea. So white plays queen to g3 to avoid this queen trade. And now we have knight to a6. Another possibility was knight to d7, but knight to a6, developing the knight. I think knight d7 is a little bit better, but okay. Now we have rook a to b1, simply putting the rook on the semi-open file, kind of attacking this this pawn right here. And notice that the pawn cannot move. So for example, if pawn to b6, then we have bishop. Let's play this. I mean, if pawn to b6, then we have bishop takes c6 check, and this would be terribly devastating for black. Actually, computer is showing mate in 17 here with best play for black. So you know how to defend this pawn, and perhaps perhaps this was one of the points of knight a6 is to move the rook here. But what do you do about this pawn if you're black? Well, the black player, Mr. Sulik, decided he is going to play queen to e7. So this does defend the pawn, but creates problems of its own. So then now we have a move rook to oh, I'm sorry. Now we have a move, yes, rook indeed to f to d1. So this activates the other rook. So notice every piece of white's is now doing something. We have two centralized bishops that are very strong. We have a strong queen. We have two strong rooks. And black decides, I can't really give up the defense of this pawn. I need to do something with this bishop. So black plays pawn to g6 with the idea to put the bishop on g7. It is a bad move, but in black's defense, really every move here is bad. Pieces are kind of paralyzed. I'm not really sure what else black could have done. Computer says maybe you could try rook to c8. But okay, this white is much better here. It's much easier to play as white, and quite frankly, rook to c8 loses. White can even just capture the pawn right away, and now white is only down one pawn and still has all the activity in the world. So you know, it's easy to judge, but okay, g6. Bad, but not, but everything loses. So white plays bishop from e3 to g5, attacking black's queen. It is very tempting here to play pawn to f6 to attack the bishop, and this is exactly what happens in the game. But then, rather than playing anything else, white decided that he's going to come back to f3 with the queen, giving up this bishop completely. This is really quite a shocking move. Look at this. Queen to f3. So now black has the option of capturing this bishop. But what happens? Well, if black captures here, then we have rook takes b7, giving up the rook, well, temporarily, and attacking the queen. And now, you know, you cannot capture this. I mean, you could, but you're losing. After this, then bishop check, and the queen is gone. And if queen does not capture here, then it's really well, it's really not clear what happens. So for example, if queen moves to c5, then you have mate right away with queen to f7 checkmate. So this is just completely losing here for black. So you cannot capture this bishop. So what happens? Well, in the game, the opponent did see that f takes g doesn't work, and went ahead and played knight to, oh, I'm sorry, king to f7. So this is an attempt to escape the dangerous checkmates, but white does not care. White plays bishop takes f6, again giving up a piece. So what happens now? Well, queen takes f6. I think it's forced. Otherwise, you know, everything is lost. But of course, now you have rook to d7 check, and of course it was possible to it was also possible to capture here, but capturing here is not quite as good because you do have a defense. But now we have rook to d7 check, And after bishop to e7, then you capture on e7. And here black resigned the game. Why? Because after, for example, king takes e7, queen takes e7 is not possible because queen is pinned. But after king takes, then you have, of course, capturing here. And you know, after any move, for example, if king comes here, then queen takes queen. And if knight to c7, simply rook takes c7 first, check, and then the queen will be captured. So this is, I mean, this is completely lost, and you can see how lost this is. And you cannot retreat back. Retreating back here is just mate in 2. So this is just completely and utterly lost for black. And what I like about this game is the illustration about just how important it is to see more than just material advantage. So black thought that he was going to be fine after capturing these pawns, and indeed maybe if white traded queens here, black would have been fine. But you know, you need not to trade queens. After queen to g3, white has a significant advantage, and we can see that white really just, with these spectacular piece sacrifices, that white really has put a lot of pressure on black. So after this, just giving up all the pieces, giving up the exchange. The fact that black's king is still in the middle and his pieces are disorganized, the material advantage really doesn't matter here. So I hope you enjoyed this game, and I hope you learned the importance of development. I will see you next time. Konstantin out.